and welcome back to the Professor Moville YouTube channel. This lecture is going to be chapter 13 for my consumer behavior folks. And chapter 13 is all about situational influences, which is a really interesting topic for the times we have right now. So let's jump right in, okay? If you take a look at slide 2, it's the same slide that we've had for this whole semester. And right now we have moved over to the decision process section, okay? So we're starting right up at the top with situations. So moving on, I'm talking about slide 4, situational influence. We don't respond to ads and products in isolation. We respond to marketing influences and the situations simultaneously. The basis of consumer behavior, and if you haven't figured this out yet, the basis of consumer behavior is understanding the consumer, the stimuli, and now we're going to be talking about the situation, okay? And situational influences include all of those factors. Time and place and all of that stuff, and that's everything we're going to talk about in this chapter, okay? One thing to note on this slide, consumers often behave very differently depending on the situation. Think about what you've seen on TV or on social media or within your own family and how different some of them have reacted to what's going on right now in the world. Okay? We're going to skip over slide 5, moving on to slide 6. This is figure 13-1 in your book on page 489, the nature of situational influence. So this shows how the situation interacts with marketing activity and the individual to determine their behavior. And we're going to walk through this over the next few slides, okay? So we're going to spend a little time on slide 7 talking about 4 types of situations: the communication situation, the purchase situation, the usage situation, and the disposition situation, okay? So talking about the communication situation first. So that's when marketers ask the question of, should I advertise my product during Walking Dead or Modern Family? Do I want happy content, sad content, calm content, exciting content? The communication situation is when marketers attempt to place ads in the appropriate media to enhance their effectiveness. So I've mentioned this before, the Disney Channel and Disney XD, they actually do have some commercials on those channels. Those commercials are for things like learning apps for children, their toys, pizza, food, but you're not going to run an ad for a tattoo parlor. So I don't know why tattoo parlor just came to mind, but it's figuring out the appropriate media to enhance the effectiveness of that product or service. Understanding who's going to be watching that media and consuming that media, okay? So moving on to the purchase situation. The purchase situation is like, duh. Think about it when you buy the product. So when I go to Wegmans with Jack versus when I go to Wegmans by myself, do you think he has a say in some of my purchases? Of course, right? So that's a change in purchase situation. So chances are good I'm probably going to leave Wegmans with a bag of Tostitos, salsa, probably going to have tortillas, what else? Guacamole. So those are the things that he's going to ask me for. He's not a big sweets guy. He doesn't like candies or cookies or cakes, but he likes a good tortilla chip. So that's the kind of stuff I would wind up buying. When you're in a rush, think about when you're in a rush. You're rushing to class, you're starving, you haven't had breakfast, you've got 15 minutes, you hit up the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru, right? Because it's quick, it's easy. May not necessarily be healthy, but again, you're in a purchase situation where you're in a hurry. Think about right now, these pandemic purchases, right? No toilet paper anywhere. Still don't understand why people are buying toilet paper. But again, whatever. Buying it in such bulk. I mean, I guess I understand why you have it, but, I don't think anyone's going to blow through 2 cases of toilet paper in a month. I mean, and if so, there's other problems, and you'll need to speak to a doctor. Okay. So moving on to the usage situation. So marketers need to understand the usage situations for their products and how they become appropriate. So right after your last exam of the semester, okay, think of these. After dinner on a cold winter's evening, or when you're feeling sad. Okay, so think of those 3 different situations. So what beverage would you prefer to consume in each of these situations? So right after your last exam of the semester, I'm going to go with a Pepsi. Wink, wink. After dinner on a cold winter evening, maybe a hot chocolate. When you're feeling sad, I eat ice cream, so I don't know about a beverage. Maybe people drink things, I don't know. But again, marketers need to understand where they fit in those situations. So Swiss Miss hot chocolate needs to understand that climate, seasonality is key, right? And maybe showing people sitting by a fireplace drinking hot chocolate. So understanding the usage situation is very helpful. I love the usage situation example they have in the book, talking about Coach. For many of the ladies and some of the gentlemen out there, Coach makes purses and accessories and shoes. Initially, Coach had the very similar 2-pronged approach of dressy handbags and work handbags, or like everyday handbags. They decided they realized there was a usage void, and that's a term in your book, usage void. And what they did was they came up with lots of other products like change purses and laptop bags and wristlets. Wristlets are those little things attached to your wrist, the little change purse type thing. Weekend bags, clutches, all sorts of stuff. So they came up with all these other products to address the usage void and only saw their sales go up by 25%. Not bad. In the book, there's an ad for Daisy Sour Cream showing a pan of, I believe it's a pan of brownies, and basically saying that sour cream is more than just what you put on your taco or you put on a dip. It can also be used in lots of recipes, which any bakers know that you can put sour cream in a few different things like a chocolate cake or brownies, and it makes it really, really good. So again, usage situations, people need to understand their products could probably be used to fill other voids. They just have to think outside the box. The disposition situation, that's just customers understanding that they have to dispose of the products. Like eventually they'll throw the products out or get rid of them, or the packaging that comes with those products. So they have to ask a lot of questions. Can the product or packaging be recycled? Usually when you buy new appliances, you have old ones, and usually companies like a Best Buy or a Home Depot, they understand that taking those appliances out of the old appliances out of the home, maybe for free or for a really small charge, is an added benefit to making that new appliance purchase. So It's thinking about on a large scale, maybe how green the products are, the recycling piece being good to the earth, but then it's also thinking about usefulness, getting rid of an old mattress. How many of you have bought a new mattress, and the old mattress, what do you do with it? Usually companies will offer to get rid of that mattress for you. Okay? So that's talking about 4 types of situations for situational influence. So if we move on to page 8, situations can be described in a number of dimensions. Okay? So the 5 key dimensions are physical surroundings, social surroundings, temporal perspectives, task definition, and antecedent states. We'll talk about those in the next few slides. So, store atmosphere. Okay? That was my dog walking by. He has no respect for what we're doing here. Store atmosphere, I want you to think about what are some store atmosphere stores that you like and why. Okay? I'm going to talk about a couple. Atmospheric influences. Okay? Influences customer judgment of the quality of the store and the store's image. So think about the Apple store. It's bright. It's white and gray and clean and sleek, and all you see are the Apple products in very sleek, white or clear packaging, right? So Apple's really working hard at keeping a very polished, technology forward image, right? And their stores had to look that way. Atmosphere is referred to as a service-scape when describing a business such as a hospital, a bank, or a restaurant. Well, think about Starbucks. If you've been in a Starbucks, you walk in, usually you can hear music. They always have some kind of maybe new age or jazzy, or they'll have some newer music, but it's something that's kind of cool, usually. You can smell the coffee. There's furniture where you can sit and work, or chairs where you can relax, kind of like this one. Okay? They're trying to set a vibe. If you ever go to any of those silly theme restaurants, like Margaritaville, right? The whole obnoxious, bright colors and Jimmy Buffett music playing, right? All of that is an atmosphere. It's a service-scape. Okay? Tell me what some stores are that you like and why. Talking about the service-scape. Okay? So this next slide number 10, it's basically it's a graph with physical surroundings, and you can see going left to right, utilitarian to hedonic. Okay? And you see short amount of time on the left-hand side, short, moderate, and extended. So a dry cleaner or a bank. I don't know if any of you ever go to those places, but if you have, they're just very simple, very clean, not flashy, very basic. You get what you get and you leave because you don't want to spend a lot of time there. If you start to look at the consumption going more towards frivolity or frivolousness, kind of hedonic. Fast food, right? Fast food, you go into McDonald's, there's lots of seating, there's a place you order food, you sit down, they shouldn't be super flashy, although some McDonald's have TVs and play places, but whatever, which are filthy, by the way, ew. Anyway, so if you take a look at hedonic, so coffee at Starbucks, you're in there a very short period of time, typically, unless you're working there all day. But they have the muted colors and the really nice chairs and the wooden tables, and they're trying to set a mood, okay? A theater or a sporting event, you're at a theater or sporting event for a long period of time. So theaters, they try to have the comfy seats and the food, and you can smell the popcorn, and so they have to set that kind of vibe, Okay, so this graph just kind of shows you from utilitarian, meaning kind of a sparse setup, all the way to a hedonic, maybe a little more frivolous, a little more comfy atmosphere for representing places like banks and dry cleaners and that kind of thing. So moving on to slide 11, colors, aromas, music, crowding. Well, you know, there's a lot we can talk about. Colors and aromas, I mean, that's what you get when you walk into a Starbucks. You smell the coffee, the natural colors on the walls and on the furniture. The music, okay, they talk a little bit about music, and we'll talk about that on the next slide. The crowding, so that's directing traffic in a store. So crowding can deter customers from going to your store if your store is really small and there's lots of people in it. Crowding can deter customers when you don't have a good traffic flow. Think about when you go to return something at Christmas time. Many in-store locations will have a separate place to make returns so that it's easier and it's faster. So crowding is something that we have to think about, especially right now in grocery stores. Wegmans is now open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. They had to make that change. They didn't do it because they wanted less people. They did it because they have to clean, they have to stock, and that's causing some crowding at certain times of day. Slide 12. Okay, so slide 12. This slide drills deeper into the concept of faster paced music versus slower paced music. My question to you is, what stands out to you on this slide? Have you experienced any of this? How do you feel when you walk into a restaurant and the music's really upbeat and fast? Or how do you feel when you walk into an apparel or a clothing store and the music's very soft and soothing? Talk to me a little bit about this. Tell me what you think. Moving on to slide 13, we're going to talk about temporal perspectives. Time is a situational factor that can happen in a number of ways. The amount of time available to make a purchase has a huge impact. Talk to your friends, your parents. When your washer breaks, you don't have a lot of time. You need a new washer, because I'll tell you, I remember what it was like to have to go to the laundromat, like you guys probably have to do, some of you. Well, not now, but yeah, you got to buy that washer pretty quickly. So you have a short amount of time to make that purchase. Short amounts of time means you have less time to research. So we think a lot about time situations like that. So as I said, limited purchase time often limits search. Obviously, internet shopping is growing rapidly. Think about it. What do you think this quarantine will do to online shopping in the future? My parents are signed up for Grubhub and DoorDash, and they're using it. That's huge. They're actually using the Instacart at Wegmans. I mean, these are things that I never would have imagined that they would use. And now they're using them and using them regularly. Do you think that's going to change after all of this is potentially over? I don't know. What are your thoughts? Moving on to slide 14. We're going to talk about task definition. So that's really, so it's the reason you're making the purchase. So it's either for yourself, so for self-use, or as a gift. That's very simple. Types of gift giving varies with occasions and gender. Usually wedding gifts are very utilitarian, like you give someone money or they get, home appliances or home goods. Birthday gifts tend to be more fun. That's when you get people, I don't know, you get them a case of beer and a gift card somewhere. That's, gift giving can fall into lots of different categories. Social expectations, ritualized situations, like if somebody decides to get a new job, you take them out to dinner to celebrate their new promotion or their new job, right? We do these things, there's rituals. Also, the nature of a gift can signify the type of relationship the giver has or wants with the receiver. I remember many of the gifts that my husband got me before we were married. They were all really nice. So I knew that meant, he kind of wanted to keep me around. Yeah. And we're still married. So I guess that worked out for him. So people like gifts is what I'm saying. Your professor likes gifts. Forget it. I wish I knew how to edit really well, or I'd edit that last part out. But every time I try to edit, I screw something up. So it's just like being in class. You get all the bloopers. Anyway, so moving on to slide 15. Types of antecedent states. So antecedent states are features of an individual person that are not lasting characteristics. Okay? So moods and momentary conditions. I could think of a momentary condition we're in right now. Let's talk about moods. Did you ever wake up in a bad mood? You don't know why. You just woke up in a bad mood. Did that ever affect your purchase situations, what you buy, how you buy things? What did you buy? For me, it's usually ice cream. Or maybe I decide to pick up one of my online carts and get a couple things out of one of my carts that I have going. I don't know, for some of us, purchasing things makes us feel better. And I suspect a lot of that's happening right now. Momentary conditions, well, we're in a momentary condition right now. We're in a temporary state of being what? All of the things, right? Feeling unsure, not, maybe feeling tired, feeling a little sad, missing friends, missing, kind of our normal college life. I know I'm feeling sad. I miss all of you. I miss my colleagues. I miss going to work. I miss that kind of interaction with students one-on-one and in groups. So all of that, all of those momentary conditions, all of those temporary states of having those feelings, that affects our purchases. That affects how we buy things. Those are all situations that we're in that affect our buying. You don't even want to know the stuff I have bought in the last couple weeks, the online buying I have done. I'll have to show a couple things in one of my next videos. It's just, yeah. Anyway, moving on to page 16, slide number 16. Rituals. I talked a little bit about rituals a couple slides ago. Think about it. For those of you that celebrate, what do we have coming up? We've got Passover, Easter, Ramadan. We've got holidays coming up, religious holidays coming up, Mother's Day, Father's Day. All of these things are rituals that trigger a set of behaviors, typically purchases. For Mother's Day, what are we buying? We're buying a card, flowers, maybe candy, maybe, I don't know, my mom always likes jewelry. Of course. So we're making purchases. It's a ritual, okay? 60% of the toy industry sales occur when? Christmas time. Makes sense? Weddings and proms, that triggers a lot of purchases. Dresses, accessories, tuxedos, shoes, flowers, okay? I think right now about kids in high school that aren't going to their prom, and I'm sad for them. And I also think about all of the economics around that. Think about not buying dresses and flowers and all of those things, just layering into what happens in our economy. If we're not out there buying those things, what happens? I know, kind of a bummer. For Thanksgiving, what's on your table? I'm gonna bet, no matter what, turkey's on your table. I mean, I'm half Italian and half Irish, so sometimes there's pasta on the table, sometimes there's lots of different things, but there's always turkey, there's always stuffing, there's always mashed potatoes, there's always cranberries, rolls, usually green bean casserole, pie, apple pie, pumpkin pie, right? So all these rituals cause us to do things, cause us to purchase, right? So if you really think about it, they do. Moving on. The next slide shows an ad for PetSmart, Martha Stewart Pets Collection. I had no idea. She does everything. Martha does everything. So basically gifts for pets under the tree. Do you get your pets anything for the holidays? Do you? I won't shame you. I don't, because I feel like my dog, every day is a holiday for him. So situational influences and marketing strategies. So let's say every day you're a runner and you run every day for 4 to 5 miles a day. You run every single day religiously. What are the products or services you may be interested in? Okay? So this is somebody who fits a certain situation. They're a runner, they're healthy. What are some of the things you think they'd be interested in? I'll give you a couple easy answers. Sneakers, running clothes. But there's lots of other things. So what are some of those other things that that runner would be interested in? Talk to me, okay? So that's identifying different situations that might involve the consumption of a product. So that runner, that person, because of the lifestyle they lead, they may be apt to buy lots of different things. What are those things? Slide 19 is a graph that shows use situations and product positioning. So if you look at it left to right, left shows concerned with personal response, right shows concerned with response from others, okay, on the bottom across horizontally. Vertically, at the top you can see used, can't read, small print, used away from home, and at the bottom is home usage. So you see the dot near toothpaste. It says, to clean my mouth upon rising in the morning. That's the situation. You're going to use toothpaste. Toothpaste belongs with home usage, concerned with personal response. Situation of before an important business meeting late in the afternoon. Well, you're going to pop a piece of gum or a mint in your mouth, and that goes up at the top right-hand corner for used away from home and concerned with the response from others, and that's mint-flavored candy or gum. So this looks like a lot of different graphs that we've seen in other chapters showing product positioning. This just shows it using situations with the product. Okay. So this slide, slide 20, shows the 5 steps for developing situation-based marketing strategies. So a lot of this stuff is stuff we've talked about in Marketing 250. You'll talk about in marketing research if you haven't taken that. Figuring out who people are that are going to use or buy your product, surveying those folks to better understand how the products are used, right? Like all of that makes sense. Construct a person situation segmentation matrix. So I'm going to show you, I'm just going to jump to the next slide and show you that. So on slide 21, the last slide, this slide shows an example of a person situation segment, and this one's for suntan lotion, okay? So left to right, you can see suntan lotion use situation and all the situations below. Then the potential users, young children, teenagers, adult women, adult men, and then general situation benefits. So when you look at all these segments, you have to evaluate each one for potential, then develop the marketing strategy for those that offer sufficient profit. right? I mean, that makes sense. You know people are using sunscreen. Why are they using sunscreen? When are they using sunscreen? How can you capitalize on that? So if you take a look, I mean, just looking at this, one of the things that jumped out to me was people using suntan lotion when they're snow skiing. And one of the general situation benefits was an anti-freeze type formula. So if you're copper tone and you've come up with an anti-freeze formula for your suntan lotion for folks that are skiing in Utah or Colorado, chances are good you may be able to charge a premium, and you may have a really cool advertising campaign around it. You may be able to make a decent profit off of your product. So that's really what this is, using a person situation segment. We talk a lot about products and kind of what they're used for. This chapter really kind of gets you to think about maybe the situation and then the product, if that makes sense. Okay? So I want you to spend some time just reading through this chapter. Talk to me in the comments below. I'm a little behind. I got to read through some of your newer comments, but I'm loving these comments. It's really great. I'm really enjoying it. I only wish I was in the class with you and could hear them right out of your mouths, but this will have to do, okay? So that's it for chapter 13. Be safe, be well, and I'll see you soon.